The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, the cost of living has sent countries and governments around the world scrambling to ease the impact of inflation on their citizens. Here in the Bahamas, the major cry remains the cost of grocery. Tonight, that ease is on the way. The government has a new program, Affordable Bahamas, that will not just affect grocery prices in a good way, but also put you in the driver's seat as to where you spend your money. This is going to be very interesting and will bring relief across the board. We discuss it this evening. Now, if you thought there are too many monopolies in the Bahamas, therefore further driving up the cost of living, you're right. So get ready for comparison and competitive shopping. That's right, the Affordable Bahamas program will address that as well. And then later in the show, a call for the Civil Aviation Authority to close shop at General Aviation. It's the area where those small aircraft act more like a jitney service. You know the area. Hear why an industry expert feels it's time to ground those planes. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, Bahamians, regardless of their financial status, are complaining that since COVID-19, about the cost of living. Inflation has stung hard. It's being felt. And so think about this. If the wealthy are complaining, then imagine the single mother having to go to the store with $100 and leaving with only a few items. If she's lucky, that's how tough things have gotten. But tonight, Senator Barry Griffin joins me with the kind of news you will want to pay attention to and anticipate. This Affordable Bahamas program aimed at easing the financial burden for Bahamians on every island across the Bahamas. Senator Griffin, it's good to have you here. Good evening. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about this because I go to the store myself. When you go to the store, let's just a grocery store. You know when you walk up there and you didn't spend close to $200, if not over $200, and you're looking around saying, like, what's up?
You go home and see the bags and see what you put out on your counter and you wonder where the money went.
No, I wonder at the counter because I row them they should tell you about their experience with me. So this is going to be fantastic. Me and the nation are waiting for this news. Now, this program, Senator, is already being described as transformative. It certainly is historic. Certainly. By the sound of it, the Affordable Bahamas program is very comprehensive, bringing together representatives from every sector across Bahamian society. Is this so that you don't miss anything or anyone, in particular that vulnerable Bahamian?
So, Shanique, as you said, the high cost of living in the Bahamas affects absolutely everyone. From the expat to the tourist to the wealthy Bahamian to, as you said, the single mother, the average Bahamian to the poor in our society, we are all feeling it. We shop at the exact same stores, and so we all feel the prices. And so this program is meant to help all Bahamians and everybody living within the Bahamas or visiting the Bahamas.
No, this is fantastic. I tell you, and regardless of where you shop, I mean, everybody have our where we prefer, but we can all agree. I don't care if it's the shop at the corner or one of the major retailers, wherever you go, the cry is the same. Now, let's just talk about this program because people are anxious to hear about it. Can you break down how the Affordable Bahamas program will work and why this will be a big deal for the average Bahamian in particular?
So Affordable Bahamas is essentially the umbrella name we've given to a program where there are multiple players and multiple partners. So it's cross-ministerial. It's being run out of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, but the Office of the Prime Minister is also involved, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Energy and Transport, a number of other government ministries. We've also partnered with the Chamber of Commerce. We've also partnered with the Bahamas Development Bank. We've also partnered with a number of other private sector organizations. So the program is comprehensive. It's intended, I know we talk a lot about the grocery store and that sector, but it's intended to affect
everywhere.
It's intended to affect virtually every sector because there are really three pillars to the entire program. So one, we're talking a lot about trade diversification, where we get our products from. Are we getting them directly from the manufacturers and producers? Are we getting the best prices for these goods from around the world? Or are we just shopping at one place and not looking around?
Well, before now, we were kind of almost just sort of shopping at one place, and picking up all the extra middleman fees and all that stuff.
So really and truly, I think most Bahamians would recognize, or they kind of instinctively know, we really only buy the majority of our goods from the United States. And not just that, we found that the most of businesses here in the Bahamas and consumers here in the Bahamas only purchase their goods from companies in Florida. So that's very kind of focused and sort of very dependent on a very small piece of the market. So our trade isn't even diversified within the United States. And so, for example, let's just say we buy potatoes directly from Florida. Well, you have Idaho that's known for potatoes. Perhaps we can get potatoes directly from the source in Idaho. So trade diversification is a big part of the program. Other parts of the program are increasing competitiveness. So we're introducing competition legislation. And then the third thing is we're also empowering Bahamians by also promoting price transparency.
Well, we're going to talk about price transparency because you all get ready to download another app that's going to come. I want to go back to something that you said about everybody who is in the room, who is a part of this, to ensure that the grandmother on Acklands is not excluded, to ensure that the person in Old Fort Bay is not excluded.
Yep.
What I'm saying, you want to reach every Bahamian so that they enjoy the best the Bahamas has to offer at more affordable prices. Let's talk about how agriculture is involved, the church, the civic. Why bringing all them together? Like, what is it that they will bring to ensure the success of Affordable Bahamas?
So the thing is, you don't want to work in silos. Working in silos is a recipe for disaster. Every single government ministry, private sector organization, so the person on the street has something to offer to this program, whether it's their knowledge, the capacity they already have, the connections they have. So for example, one of the big things that we found that local fishermen and farmers have complained about why their products tend to be a little bit more expensive sometimes is because we call them the inputs. The inputs of their farming is very expensive. So for example, farmers who produce eggs and chicken, they say that the chicken feed is very expensive.
Yes.
And so what we're doing in this program is introducing them to suppliers from around the world that produce chicken feed at a more cost-effective price. So if they're able to buy cheaper chicken feed, the reality is that they're going to be able to sell that chicken or that egg a lot cheaper.
A lot cheaper.
In addition, they've also said...
Because have you seen the price of eggs? Like, you actually go to the store?
I go to the store myself.
Yourself. So you don't send nobody.
I don't send nobody.
You even see the price of eggs in the U.S.
So imagine if the price of eggs in the U.S. have increased. Imagine what the price of eggs are here. And so that's something we're working with. Even the little things, for example, we have farmers who grow tomatoes or things that sort of ripe very quickly. And they say the protective boxes and packaging that you have to put these things in, they're very expensive. They said that if you can find us a new source where we can buy these boxes and these papers and special things that you kind of have to package these things in, the cost of your tomatoes and fruits and vegetables would be much cheaper in this country. So again, instead of buying from single sources, we're trying to find new sources for these things so that the inputs in agriculture in the country is cheaper, which means the price you pay at the till will be cheaper as well.
It seems as though the consumer and those who produce and manufacture will also experience savings. I want to ask you about this because this is always a concern for me, the health aspect of where we're going. Yes, we want to get it cheaper. My God, that's the most attractive word at the moment. And when it comes to cost of living here in the Bahamas, how are we shoring up that quality
Yep.
is also accompanying
So
this.
I'm very glad you asked this, and let me tell you, Bahamians are in tune with health and safety.
Oh, absolutely.
We've done town halls across Nassau so far, and this is one of the first questions that come up. So we want to assure all Bahamians that the exact same standards and specifications that goods coming out of the United States have to meet, goods coming from any other jurisdiction has to meet. So every single country has standards and requirements for the import of goods. We are not changing these standards or requirements to bend to get products from another jurisdiction. And so, for example, when we go to a new source jurisdiction, the companies in that country will have to prove through BASFA, which is our Food Health Safety Authority, that they are meeting these requirements. But
And people at PASFA working, right?
they're working. But here's the thing. Most of these, and I would probably say virtually all of the companies and countries that we're going to, they export their goods around the world.
And
so
let me
they
tell you,
already meet American qualifications and specifications.
I want us to know that the U.S. also imports from these people and these countries.
And so what we're discovering is when you see branding, sometimes it's just that. We've been to Latin America and we've seen the farms where they literally, for example, where you package rice and they put an American brand on the rice, it goes to the US. They put a Spanish brand on the rice, it's sold in Latin America. They put it in Arabic and it goes to the Middle East. So it's literally the exact same product, but just being advertised to different jurisdictions around the world.
Absolutely. Well, that's good to hear. Now, the high cost of living has long been an issue in the really before COVID, but I mean more pronounced since then.
And for some reason, again, I'm a Bahamian, I'm a consumer. And over the last few years since COVID, I think that's where we've really begun to feel it. And it's nothing because of anything that's happening here in the Bahamas, but it's all these world pressures. You have wars in Ukraine,
and all this,
you have all kind of supply chain issues around the world.
That bottleneck at the same time.
And again, we import all of these things. And so all of those costs that are added from around the world, they come right here at our doorstep.
Yeah, well, I tell you, listen, the nation can applaud you this evening for this. And I'm also very impressed to hear that you didn't just come up and sit here tonight to talk about it. You've actually gone and spoken with people in town meetings around the capital.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of this.
So no, we've started our town hall meetings from October. The idea is that we're going to go through the length and breadth of the country because we want to reach businesses. So the program is absolutely voluntary. And so obviously a business is free to make its own decision. So we want to educate entrepreneurs, the small corner shops, medium-sized stores, and again, it's not just the food sector. Another big
let's move along. Let's move along.
Okay,
because we talk just about food.
But just to say, we want Bahamians to know that we're going across the country. So we haven't started our town halls in the Family Islands as yet. But this quarter, we're intending to start that process of going to the Family Islands, talking to entrepreneurs, business owners, but also talking directly to consumers.
Speaking about consumers, construction is a major thing. We see the construction boom all over the nation, really, literally just all over the nation, and there's so much more in the pipeline. This is also going to address that to bring down the cost.
And so that's why I said I don't want us to sort of just target the grocery sector because sometimes sectors feel like we're sort of picking on them. This is intended to affect every single sector in the country. Trade diversification is needed across the board. So again, we purchase most of our construction materials from the United States. However, lumber is more cost effective in Latin America. We've found that cement you can get from other Caribbean countries, Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. We found that tiles and textiles and light fixtures and ceramics are cheaper in Brazil. We found that finished products such as doors and cabinets, etc., are cheaper in Australia. Our African partners are pushing minerals and raw materials from Africa, aluminum, steel, iron. And so we're doing the research around the world and sort of finding where we can get these from more cost effectively.
And then again, just stress this for everyone watching tonight, going directly to these places is what brings the savings.
Exactly. Going directly to the producer, going directly to the manufacturer. Again, we've done the studies, and the second biggest thing Bahamians complain about is the cost of construction.
Yes.
So we have young people who want to get into the home ownership business. You might could afford a plot of land, but when you look at how much it costs to build that home, it's prohibitive for a lot of people. You have businesses that want to expand. You have foreign investors who want to come here and build major developments, but the cost of construction and doing business in the Bahamas may be prohibitive. And so bringing the cost of construction down by bringing down the cost of materials is going to help everyone again, from the new family or the single person wanting to build straight up to the $1 million, $1 billion investment who wants to bring a major hotel here in the Bahamas. So that's a key industry that we're also targeting.
You've already explained diversifying the global supply chain, which is welcomed and amazing. And we understand now that we are going to be shortchanged. Because it's not coming directly from Florida, for example.
Yeah.
Because Florida, oftentimes, while they produce a lot, they also import a lot as well. And so, as well as like California and other big hubs in the United States.
I'll just give you one anecdote before we leave. I was talking to the owner of a small or medium-sized supermarket here. And one of the things he said, we know we're getting these products from Brazil, but we're dealing with the American company and we can't sort of figure out who the producer or supplier is. So we know we can get it cheaper from Latin America, but we don't have the resources to make those contacts. And so we said, the government is going to take that burden on. We're going to go directly to these countries and say, hey, who are your top producers of these things? Introduce us as a government, and we're simply handing these contacts over. And so
to the businesses.
We facilitated a Zoom call with this business and suppliers in a Latin American country. They had a very productive conversation, and the owners of this business are now going to travel to Latin America to see the production in real life, and then they're going to make a decision after that if they're going to buy directly from these producers. And so that's the kind of facilitation that we're doing right now.
So very shortly we will begin to see, and if your prices ain't dropping, Bahamians will have an opportunity to just make their own decision of where they're going to go.
Exactly, and again, we're going to get to that when we talk about price comparison, because that's another thing in our strategy.
So of course, you know, another issue in the Bahamas, my God, is lack of competition, right? Few selections of where to actually shop. Therefore, the high prices that we see and experience. Can you speak to how the government will help prevent these monopolies? Now, that's a tall order, because you know some people been the only person in that space since right after independence. You know what I'm saying? So how are you going to break up these monopolies so that the Bahamian people benefit and are happy?
So I just want to sort of pare back the rhetoric. First of all, I don't want to call anything monopolies, but we do recognize that there are companies in this country that have market dominance. And I want to use market dominance simply because you don't need to be a monopoly to have dominance over a market. You may only have 15 or 20% of that market, but that 15 or 20% is enough for you to dominate and enough for you to have practices that are anti-competitive. But let me tell you this, we are one of the only countries in, I would call, the industrialized modern world that does not have competition law. So we're not part of the World Trade Organization. Being a member of the World Trade Organization, you're required to have competition legislation. We're not part of CSME in the Caribbean. Being part of CSME, again, these are all trading blocks. You're required to have competition legislation. So because we're not in international bodies like that, we haven't done it. However, we've signed on to economic partnership agreements with the United Kingdom and with the European Union that now requires us to have competition legislation. So the first thing I want to say is,
that's coming.
That's an international obligation that we now have. But secondly, in the research we found is that from countries around the world, we've experienced and we've done the research and we've seen that implementing a competition legislation regime in your country will assist in prices because now companies, for example, cannot collude on prices, for example. So imagine, for example, let me give you a quick example. And again, I'm going to get away from the food sector, get away from construction.
You went back there.
Let me use my haircut.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
My haircut is, I pay
even in the beauty industry, across the board.
Tell me how much it costs to do your hair.
But you
I know you go to someone expensive.
Don't ask those kind of questions.
Okay,
please.
I'll say my haircut. My haircut is $20.
Yes.
But imagine I woke up tomorrow and every single barbershop I went to say it's $100. I can't find any competition. There is no legislation currently in this country where we can effectively deal with companies colluding on prices. And so if all the barbers in this country got together right now and say
that this is what they're going to, then that's what it is.
The government has very limited means by which they could use. And so now that's something as the beauty industry, but imagine if that's happening in food, in construction, in law, in accounting, in
this is good.
in banking.
This is good.
And so competition legislation, you will now have a competition authority that has the power to investigate, that has the power to ask questions, and that has the power to put remedies in place. And so, for example, a competition authority would be able to go to these barbershops and say, have you colluded on prices? Is this the market saying that haircuts are now $100? Or are you speaking behind the scenes to artificially agree to prices? And so that's why we're saying competition legislation is extremely important. So they can now say, in competition legislation, that would now be illegal. And the competition authority would now have the teeth to break that up and stop that where it is.
This is what I want to know, because how will they also be armed with knowledge of saying, no, this in this industry with this haircut or this style, because you will try don't get my business about my hairstyle, please, thanks. So you want
it looks lovely, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you, I love it too. But you are saying that then you can also determine and know what the price should be, that authority.
So again, as a government, we're not getting into the process of setting prices. However, we want to create the regulatory environment where the market sets these prices. There's no price colluding. There's no abusing your power in the market. And there's price transparency. So, for example, if the haircut we find that it is naturally $100 because electricity has gone up, buying your razor has gone up, all that sort of thing, then that's fine. But if we found that the haircut is only $100 because all of y'all talking to each other and saying it's $100, then that would be an issue.
Very good. That certainly, of course, obviously, again, will bring the competition, and people will have their choice, because obviously then things will be regulated.
And so we want to be clear, competition is multifaceted, it's complicated, it also involves insisting that there's innovation in the market and encouraging firms to be innovative. It's also looking at industries to see if there are ways to bring new players or to support the players that are currently in the industry so that they're more competitive. And again, it's also introducing laws that would stop the abuse of market dominance, because we're a small country. We recognize that perhaps only 3 or 4 major players could survive in a particular market. However, they should all be playing by fair rules so that consumers get a fair price.
This is good, Senator. I'm telling you, the Bahamian people tonight are happy to hear this news. For too long, Bahamians
but imagine that we are the only country in the region that doesn't have these laws that protect us.
Why haven't we progressed?
But so my thing is, I think, Prime Minister Davis needs to be commended for this, because guess what? We've even advised him that you're going to have to be ready for, the political blowout, but it's a long time coming. Things like this need to be brought to our market to ensure fairness, transparency, and ultimately empower the Bahamian consumer.
And don't underestimate Bahamians, because they love this. They take advantage of it when they go to Florida.
Correct.
They know they can go here and they can save on that and go there and go. So that will now be on your doorstep. See, that's really wonderful. Listen, when we come back, I want to talk about what was the inspiration for the Bahamas. Where did you take your inspiration from? And then the app. Is the app running yet?
It's currently being developed, but we can talk about it.
We want to talk about that app so we can hear how you can go right on your phone and say, let me see what they're charging down the street and what's going on. Yeah, that's how it's going to be. Okay, listen, we are just getting started speaking with Senator Barry Griffin on the new Affordable Bahamas program. That's right. We're going to take a break and come back with more Beyond the Headlines right after this.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
International events and production, Alive, Bahamas Air, Everybody Wins Live, and Field of Vibes Bahamas Weekend presents
the Evolution Concert on Saturday, March 29th at Clifford Park, featuring Vibes Cartel and Friends.
Bahamas, Nassau, where is this Saturday the 29th of March?
It's one of the biggest events to hit the shores of Nassau, Bahamas.
Get ready for Addy the Teacher, the Dancehall King, aka the World Boss, Vibes Cartel.
Real bad man, no muggle in a shot.
Log into into our official airline Bahamas Air for travel specials. It gets better. We're also giving away a brand new Cybertruck.
And up to $50,000 in cash and prizes at the concert. Compliments of Everybody Wins Live.
Log into our website, feelthevibesweekend.com.
For tickets, tables, skyboxes, and more info.
Visit Ticket Flare or email intlevents242@gmail.com.
WhatsApp or call 1242-808-2369.
I remember Cartel go did it.
Hello, ambitious women. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? This is your chance to shine. I'm Adriana Fox, co-founder of the Fox Foundation.
And I'm Adriel Fox, legacy advocate of the Fox Foundation.
We're thrilled to announce the second annual Women's Entrepreneurship Episode Grant Initiative, created to empower and support women like you who are making waves in the business world.
This year, we're offering $75,000 in grants to female entrepreneurs with innovative business ideas in undersaturated markets and industries that have yet to reach their full potential. Our top 3 prizes are $25,000 for first place, $20,000 for second place, and $15,000 for third place. In addition, 7 runner-ups will receive $2,000.
We encourage businesses such as those in digital markets like web innovations, AI-driven service, niche e-commerce, or emerging industries such as green technologies, health tech, cultural tourism, and personalized educational platform. Whether you're launching a startup, scaling your business, or tackling that big idea that needs a financial boost, this grant is for you. Last year, we funded 10 incredible entrepreneurs, and this year, it could be you.
Imagine what you could achieve with the funding to grow your dreams.
Apply now and join a powerful community of women entrepreneurs leading the way. Applications are open from January 31st to February 28th. Don't wait. Visit our website for more information. This is your opportunity to break into a growing market and make an impact. Apply today and let's build a future of unstoppable women entrepreneurs together.
What? You don't know what TDC is? Tourism Development Corporation?
You mean the Ministry of Tourism?
No, that ain't the same thing, buddy. The Tourism Development Corporation helps develop and grow behemoth businesses in the tourism industry. You know what they say, buddy?
Oh, yeah.
Develop and grow. You don't know what all the things saying do?
What does do?
Check the website once.
Start your journey to ownership of our #1 industry today. Log on to tdcbahamas.com.
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
This is brought to you by EV Motors. Drive the future with brand new 2024 electric vehicles. EV Motors, powering your journey.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening, in this segment of the show, we're continuing our conversation with Senator Barry Griffin, speaking about the Affordable Bahamas program. It's the program that was kind of hinted at by Prime Minister Davis, I think, a week or so ago, perhaps 2 weeks ago, when he says, listen, they're going to bring more competition in the space so that you save more money. Going to address the inflation crisis that's not just gripped the Bahamas, but countries around the world. You see even the United States. People complaining about the cost of living. Rent? Senator Griffin?
So we're dealing with the housing crisis,
yes,
but that's separately under the Ministry of Housing. So
but we have seen it. No, we've seen
Keith
it.
Bell, I mean,
but I saw him. I spoke with one of the people.
Homes?
Yes.
So
yeah.
we're
so you guys are just like biting off here and there. Okay, because the people who pay in rent, that's another thing every day. I tell you. Yeah. So it's good. It's good to see all this movement happening, so that the consumer. That is the most important thing.
Yes.
Have #1 choice and savings and ease. You know,
Correct.
That's important. I want to ask you, how was the Bahamas influenced? There are so many countries around the world who are doing just what this administration is doing. They're doing it. They have done it. Many are in the process and seeing good results. Who influenced the Bahamas? Where did you take your influence?
So the thing is, it's actually about the Bahamas sort of being in the skies and on the ground. And so a lot of people talk about the government travel, but one of the benefits of the Bahamas sort of being very represented diplomatically across the world is that you see firsthand what's going on across the world, and you get to talk to world leaders in this space about what they're doing in their countries. And so in Prime Minister Davis sort of traveling and speaking to world leaders, we're seeing what's happening in Africa, we're seeing what's happening in Latin America, and so we've taken notes from people who are being successful in the measures that they're implementing. So that was one of the impetus. And again, we've literally done just the pure data research. So we've benchmarked a number of jurisdictions and their competition legislation. We've also just poured over the trade data. So we've looked and we've seen where goods are coming from, how they're getting into the country, what the cost is. We've sat down and we've spoken to the Brazilian ambassador, we've spoken to the Chinese, we've spoken to the British High Commissioner. And so we're working with all of our international partners to figure out what advantages can we get from different countries. People may not know, we've had trade missions from Jamaica and Trinidad over the last 2 years. We've been to Brazil, we've been to Panama. There's a trade mission from Canada coming here to the Bahamas at the end of this month. And so we're really flexing our diplomatic muscles and engaging our friends and partners from around the world to bring the best deals and the best opportunities to Bahamians.
Oh, very good. Let's talk about the new app that Bahamians can really have at their fingertips to really discover where they will shop.
Yeah. I don't know if I should say this, but I think this is a big... this is one of the things that Prime Minister Davis likes the most. Every time we're in a meeting and we're talking about affordable Bahamas, he wants to know what's happening with the app. Because it's transformative. So a lot of countries, the private sector has naturally created these spaces where people can go and find prices. But as you would know, if we want to compare prices, for example, let's just say from the grocery stores, I gotta go to 5, 6, 7, 8 different stores myself, drive there and find the prices, write them down, and hope that when I decide to go buy it next week that the price is still the same.
Still the same, yes.
And so what we're doing is we're taking all of that data and putting it into one place so that you could be sitting here on the break, looking and saying, okay, what food store open right now, or what store open right now? I need to get some milk and egg for tomorrow. What is in the vicinity? What's a 10-minute drive from me that I can go to right now? And so the app is going to have AI capability. It's going to have geographic location capability. You can put your shopping basket, your list in there and say, hey, what's the store that's closest to me that has the best deal? And it'll churn out information. You could look for one thing and say, hey, I want MacArthur's milk. And you can see the price of MacArthur's milk across the Bahamas. And so it's intended to, people don't understand that there are what we call hidden costs in business. So the fact that I have to take my time and drive to 5 different stores or sit down and have time out of my day and call stores to find price, that's a hidden cost to the consumer. So we're trying to eliminate that cost so the single mother with the baby on the arm can say, all right, maybe I should go to store A today because based on what I want to buy today, store A is better than store B. And so we think that's going to be a game changer here in the Bahamas.
Game changer.
And it's all about empowering the consumer and about price transparency. And so how it's going to run, there are price inspectors that already go around to stores every day to make sure that they're complying with the breadbasket list. And so the list of products that they're going to be able to sort of take care of is going to be expanded. The app is also going to have the capability, for example, for you as a consumer to open your camera, scan it, and if the price isn't in it, you can say what the price is. And if enough people do that, the Consumer Affairs Department will see that on the back end and they'll confirm the prices with the stores. The app will also have an option for store owners to go in the back end of the store, of the app, and also put prices and change prices themselves. And so it's going to be sort of a self-sustaining system where there's sort of 3 avenues by which prices can come into the app and sort of be checked on a regular basis.
Yeah, this is good news. Really, yeah, absolutely. I want you to address the issue of price gouging, particularly before, during, and after, like a hurricane, for example, or we saw some of that, like I guess after COVID and sort of during, but after COVID. How is this Affordable Bahamas going to bring about transparency there and also address something like price gouging?
So price gouging in an instance of a national emergency is already actually protected by law in one of the price control pieces of legislation. So for example, if there is a hurricane or a natural disaster and there's something that's needed, for example, like in COVID where hand sanitizer was needed, you would have seen very quickly that the authorities would have stopped the price gouging in hand sanitizer because there's legislation to deal with that. But the legislation only stops so far to say in a national emergency. And so what happens now is stores price gouge and it's not a national emergency. Again, that's where competition legislation comes in. Competition legislation also deals with that and sort of sets parameters in law by which you're allowed to manipulate your prices based on the market and not artificially, and again, not abusing market dominance. So let's just say for some reason, one of these trade wars or trade disputes happen and we're not able to get enough of a particular product in the jurisdiction, something as simple as shampoo or soap. We can't get it in the jurisdiction for whatever, and one store has that. Now, I don't know if you would call a shortage of shampoo a national emergency, and so that store may price gouge because they know I'm the only one here who got shampoo. Competition legislation would deal with that. They would now have market dominance in the shampoo market, and legislation would prohibit them from artificially increasing the price simply because they're the only store that has dominance in that particular product.
Very good, very good. Good to hear. I want you to talk about exactly how this rollout is going to look, the short term, the medium and long term, because Bahamians are interested in this. You know, all of us have been screaming for years now about the cost of living. We know change takes time and it's going to take some massaging and all that stuff, but give us an idea of how this will look.
So it's kind of a three-tiered approach. You have the things that we're doing in the immediate term or the short term, the medium term and the long term. So you would have seen the Prime Minister announce the slash in VAT on food items. That was something meant to affect Bahamians in the short term. When April 1st comes and you go into the food store, you're going to feel that ease. The Prime Minister was very clear and certain that he wanted to do things that would ease the burden right now. And so those are some of the things that we're doing in the short term. Things that we're doing in the medium term would be the trade diversification. So you're going to begin to see a new variety of products, and you're going to see the cost benefits of us importing these new products by mid this year. So we're suggesting that by April, May of this year, you're going to see more stores having new products, bigger variety, and more savings. And the price app, again, we want to have that by mid this year. So everything we're doing sort of right now, but again, it's a balance between what's going to happen in the immediate term and the things that we're going to feel more over the long term.
Which is good. You want to feel that immediate impact, but then to see it roll out properly and
again,
be
competition law,
effective.
you want to do it properly, and so we're going to pass that legislation sometime this year, and it's going to be an authority that's set up. And so again, there are things that are going to happen in the short term, the medium term, and the long term.
Very, very good. Thank you very much for stopping by and really, setting a good tone for tonight's show with this wonderful news that everybody can appreciate.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Senator Barry
Griffin.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my God, just a moment. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you very much.
Me.
When we come back, we are going to shift gears entirely. That was fantastic news, right? And the Hot Topics panel will look at this also tomorrow. But when we come back, we're going to talk aviation. So much is going on. Did you know the pilots have now taken their fight to the Supreme Court? Yeah, that test that nobody could pass. We're going to talk about that right after this break.
At the Water and Sewage Corporation, safety and convenience are our top priorities. However, our meter readers face challenges that can make their job difficult. Locked gates to guard dogs sometimes leads to missed readings and estimated bills, which can be frustrating for you and us. That's why we're upgrading to digital meters. They bring safety, accuracy, and convenience to homes across the Bahamas. We can streamline data collection, reduce on-site visits, and provide more accurate bills with no more estimates. Digital meters also help detect leaks early, saving you from costly bills and reducing water waste. Soon, a user-friendly app will let you track your water usage, manage bills, and stay informed, all at your fingertips. Over the next year, we're rolling out digital meters nationwide, transforming how we serve you with a safer and cost-efficient water supply. To learn about our digital meters, visit our website or call us today. And don't forget to update your information at any of our locations.
My name is Limburg Smith. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for both Oasis Fresh and Tropic Shipping.
Oasis Fresh is a new
fresh produce store located in Lyford Storage and Commerce Park, and we sell fresh produce, meats, dairy, and whole foods. We partner with EV because we also offer delivery services to our clients. We offer it to commercial clients and residential clients. And with the purchase of new carry vans, it helps us to deliver our products faster, more efficiently, and it's cost saving to us. So we are very grateful for the partner with EV Motors in regards to our new fleet of vehicles. We used to spend about $220 per se per vehicle, having about 7 vehicles on the road for both our companies, Oasis Fresh and Tropics, which would cost us about $80,000 a year just on fuel. So you can imagine just how happy we are now with our new EV fleet. There was nothing better than a seamless process again, new vehicles for our company to help us proceed and be more efficient in the way we operate our business.
Ultra Games turns 8, and it's your chance to participate in the Ultra winning experience. Here's how to win. Play with Ultra Games all month long, and with every 5 reward points earned, you will receive 1 electronic entry to win your share of $100,000 in our anniversary raffle drawing on March 1st. Also join us on the Infinity Store Tour in-store all month and enter to win $1,500 just for a $20 deposit at your favorite Ultra Games store. Kicking off at our Sea Grapes Plaza location February 14th. Visit ultragames.com or our socials for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Ultra Games, unleash your luck.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Well, pilots in the Bahamas have taken their fight to have a new pilot's exam that they feel has nothing to do with the Bahamas, its makeup or tropical nature, to the Supreme Court. The aim is to have the test thrown out and a new test introduced. Well, we're going to speak about it with an aviation expert. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, pilot and aviation expert, Randy Butler. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming in. We know that you don't normally do interviews and stuff, so thank you very much for stopping by this evening.
Thank you, Shanique. I love your show.
Oh, thank you no, he does hit me up a lot and offer little tips and tidbits and all that, so thank you so much. Let's talk first so people can believe what you're going to say and how you're going to share about your experience in this industry.
Okay. Well, I've been in the industry, I'm 58 now. I've been in the industry since I was about 14. The part that I think is relevant is that back in 2000, the year 2000, the same problem we were having, where the FAA came in and did an audit of the Bahamas aviation system, not of the individual airlines or the individuals, but the regulator, in this case with civil aviation, and they found the same kind of problems with pilots not being properly certified, because the Bahamas is not, at this time, an issuing state where they can issue an initial certificate. They don't have the people in place, the personnel. They don't have the written tests, etc. So they render another ICAO state pilot's license or certificate valid. And the only way to do that is that when that person presents themselves an application and showing that you are to contact that state, and they have specific protocols to do that. And that license is always tied then, so if they issue a validation from the Bahamas, giving you a Bahamas certificate, it should still be tied to that US or ICAO state to say that particular license, as long as that's maintained current and valid, this validation is good. In the cases of the Bahamas, you had pilots who the FAA had canceled their pilot license or terminated their pilot license, and they were still carrying licenses that were issued in the Bahamas based on their FAA licenses. And that was a major problem. The other stories they're telling, I don't know where they got those from. And you'll find that when the FAA come to audit, they're not coming out. There's an issue. First, they're looking out for their people because either an airline from the Bahamas is flying there or they're code sharing with an airline that fly there. And so their first thing is to protect their citizens. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. And they're going on a checklist that's published on the site. We're signatories to the International Civil Aviation Chicago Convention, and we're a sovereign state like the U.S. And they produce articles or standards and recommended practices that the U.S. must go by and us. And they're very similar. So in the Bahamas, when they come, and to their surprise, and they find these kinds of things happening, then they're looking at the state and say, how is this happening? All right? And so the state then jumps in and say, well, we'll make a regulation. And again, you have the challenges of institutional knowledge, where a lot of the folks that are in civil aviation and the regulatory side or safety oversight are new to this.
So you're trying to say they are ill-equipped to come up with any test or even hold the positions they're holding?
Well, what they do, the government just go and hire consultants from wherever, and they come cut paste. In this case, from Europe, EASA territory, which is far from here. And most of the pilots that train are trained in the U.S. And so it's easier to go and should pick up the model regulations. And the FAA have produced what they call model regulations in compliance with ICAO that we could put in place. And so they can't force you to do anything really, but you want to fly there. So they say you got to comply with ICAO standards. And this is the case. So they had the consultants write the regulations, etc., put them in place, and they did not apply to this. And again, this is only supposed to apply to pilots who have validated pilot license or once converted. You have a whole cadre of pilots that have initial pilot license. When the CA UK was here, you had to do the exams from the UK, and you were issued a Bahama license. And if you go on FA.gov right now and you put in name, I could call the name because it's public, you put Randy Butler name in there, and it'll show you my license, my address where I live, unless I opt out, whether I have a current medical or not, what licenses I have. If you go in there, and, for example, and you put Charles Bernard Bennaby, the former civil aviation director, you'll see his, but it'll have a click. And that click will tell you, I think the note goes something like limits, issue on basis of invalid only when accompanied by Bahamas pilot license number 691, right? And then it'll say airplane, multi-engine, and U.S. test pass. So no matter what U.S. licenses they give you after that, if your Bahamian license become invalid, everything
else is right. Invalid.
So we don't have that in our licensing system, and it should have been in place, okay? For example, what you're saying happened in 2001 when the U.S. Put us in Category 2. And we hire consultants this time from the U.S. I was one of the persons that hired. They gave a transitional period of 1 or 2 years, and they say everybody who's holding a Bahamas license need to come and bring it, and of course they're going to cancel all of them at a certain period. I was hired, and the same thing happened, and I was trained by these folks. I went to different training facilities on the Boeing 737, on the Dash 8, and in Canada, and those inspectors from those countries observed me, and they've been getting a check ride, right, to do all that. And then flying and the regular stuff was done. In this case, all you're doing is stamping somebody's license. And the big thing that gets the U.S. again, protecting their citizens. So when you have pilots that have been locked up for drug trafficking in the U.S. or human smuggling, they're the kind of things that's a no, and there's no coming back. Like you could come and appeal this. That's done.
Right.
These are unappealable events. And so when you know people have served these periods and they're flying around airplanes or having accidents, and then it's popping up on their radar that that's happening. Now, what happened when the Bahamas got sorted out and back in Category 1, pilots started putting and registering their airplanes in C6 or the Bahamas registry. So the FAA stopped coming to the Bahamas to look at the airplanes and the smaller planes. So when the FAA used to come, everybody used to disappear because the FAA had real teeth. Now, they come with us, and the Bahamians, we go out there and they ask for pilot license, medical, and if you don't have those things, plane is grounded, and they go back to look and see how much flights you did. All right, while you were not holding a current medical certificate or would have done recurrent training or the airplane airworthiness has expired. And the FAA again did something drug trade brought on where before time the airworthiness licenses on an airplane was unlimited. Now they have them expiring every 3 years, triennial, and they send information to the address, and if nobody responds, they deregister that airplane. For you have an accident now, it's happening, and when you go to look, the airplane is registered in the US to some foreigner, and it's on some company door in Delaware. So now these persons that would have gotten killed or lives or maimed, they have no recourse. Because again now, the plane has been here operating probably, and you got to go look for the operator, the owner, and find out how did your airplane get here? How long has it been operating out here? Do you know you were involved with illegal activities and broken the laws of a foreign country? And those are the kind of things. And we don't have the teeth, and when we don't have the teeth, although we have the power and the regulations and law in place that courts, you can go and get remedy, but the enforcement of that, the regular inspection, and again, the Bahamas is so small.
Yeah, I want to talk about regular inspection and all that in a minute, because I want to talk, I know you have an issue with general aviation, as many people have questioned, numerous times. We'll talk about that, but this pilot's exam, this is what the Bahamas is now trying to achieve to get those pilots.
Yeah, but think of it. The guy is flying 20 years. By him taking this, what's he going to do? Are you saying he's left safe? And if he's left safe, and you're going to continue to extend the dates for them to get compliance, for example? You know, they want this show, and others were saying, gotta go this now, the safety. Now, emergency release. The politicians step in now. Call your congressman. They call the chairman and director and say, look, extend the thing, whatever it is. And they do it. So is it about safety? That's the first thing. Is it about safety?
Is this test about safety?
The test has nothing to do with safety.
Because it's the test about the Bahamas and Bahamian pilots.
And you know, information is important. Information about anything is important. But if you're talking about using a runway in the system that you don't operate with, that you're not familiar with, that you've not been trained on, and you're going to be tested on that, what's the sense of that? How does that improve your life? And we say, you operate here in this American environment, whether you like it or not. And this is the way to go. And you get more support. You know, it's like buying, if you're going to operate, I'll buy a plane manufactured in the U.S. Why? Because I got support. Why would I fly across the pond and buy a plane from another company, etc., and then don't have the kind of support and the plane is parked? That's another story.
Well, let's talk about one area certainly that is like stands out like a sore thumb on that whole compound of LPIA, General Aviation. You feel that entire area needs to be shut down?
Well, the thing about that is being supported by the airport authority. The people that operate that, if you go there, they got coffee and popcorn for everybody. You could call the main number there to ask who's going to handle us next. And the guys are sitting there and going to handle us. And while you have some very good pilots and qualified pilots, and while you may have some nice airplanes, there is no oversight to say to you that these people, because in cases I've heard and seen in times past, people can pass medical because they had heart conditions and they were flying airplanes. You have planes that have not been in a mechanic shop for any of the preventive maintenance for years.
Man, don't say that. Don't, you mean those like the kind who say?
Well, something. Don't go just to say the small airplanes. The thing what I tell you is we got to look at the system. The system that is also oversight for Bahamas Air and oversight for the small. Because the challenge here that the FAIK audits always have is the separation of the operator and the regulator. That line is not so clear in the Bahamas, all right?
But where's the oversight?
Well, and
Whether
that's
it's,
what we
for,
say.
whether it's for Bahamas Air aircraft or for general aviation and those little planes that fly up and down, who gives the oversight?
Well, the oversight, the minister that's responsible for, and that's another thing, the minister that's responsible for tourism, and they make sure, say, tourism, they don't go aviation, tourism, investment, and then aviation, or it's transportation, then aviation. And so if you're trying to get people here and people show up on the door with their plane and say, hey, Ministry of Tourism say we could come, what are you going to say? Well, the regulations say you need to make an application, and first thing we need to see if you're certified in your country to fly commercially, and if your country said you could come out here and fly, that's a process, all right? If that's not happening, that's where the conflict's again. You have inspectors that have to go to the government airline, and you will find that the government airline got to fly and got to go, right? And you, the little inspector, what you going to do? You have to, again, and this is where you have to be the empowered inspector, and it has to be seen that's done that the law, the regulation, the training, the certification, and everything must be done. In past, at Civil Aviation, when I worked there, and we were working on projects to get people certified, I saw them on TV at ceremony being passed and handed their certificate. I've seen that. And folks, nobody even try waste time to correct me on that because they know I would call the name, place, and date.
And so the people, so they ain't certified yet, but they're getting.
But what we had to do, and we did, is we go and we make it happen. We go and then we slow the process down from them getting the
What
first
is the
flight.
real, listen, is it serious oversight here, whether it's a general aviation that is a daunting, it just looks daunting the way the operation happens, or anywhere else there or in the country, but what is the real oversight? Because this is urgent and important.
Yeah, the oversight, again, this is not something that we make up. There's a document I think ICAO put out called document 9734, and it says how an oversight needs to be done, whether it's a single country or regional. And it has 8 critical elements. It says, you have to have law in place, like the Bible.
Is there law in place?
There's law in place.
Is it enforced?
The regulation, whether it's enforced and implemented, whether your inspectors are empowered to do the jobs that they're done.
Do the inspectors know what they're doing?
Well, the challenge is you have some qualified people and some experienced people in there, again, but the mixture, and in the cases sometimes that you find that there's a problem with institutional knowledge. They don't know the Pharaoh. And we have done this before. The exact same thing happened with the UKCA when we had a downgrade by the FA in 2000. And they had to jump and change everything. But at least in those days, we did in compliance with ICAO and the US. We're a sovereign country. That's the first article of the convention, to recognize each other's sovereignty. And ICAO have a technical arm that's a secretariat that they work on putting regulations and standard recommended practices out. And the countries that are signatory to that, they have to come back in their country and put it through their legal system and then have their people go. And it's very important, the inspectors, who the inspectors are. It's very important who the leader is. And that because you would appreciate this minister or deputy prime minister as focused and as empowered and as much money being put by it, he's limited by the people below.
Right.
And when you go as an inspector over to Bahamas there to say this or that can happen, how do you think that fellas feel talking to the person who probably has been appointed by the prime minister? That's a real situation, all right? So it's very good to have a director or managing director at Bahamas there who would say, this is what the book say, this is what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is why looking at the finances of these airlines is important. That's a requirement and an obligation that the minister needs to make their still going concerns.
Randy, we are so just getting started because I wanted to ask you about airspace and the fees. I know that there's a separate company that collects those fees. Like what even happens? Is that an oversight? I'm sorry, is there oversight for that company to ensure the fees are being collected and all that? Because I understand it's quite a substantial amount monthly.
Yeah, that's all again supposed to be, I know if you go on the U.S. State Department, the agreement is there. It's supposed to be transparent. How that's happening again, we need to make sure that's happening because again, you're collecting the money. It's a private company collecting the money on behalf of the government because this money is not supposed to go to the central treasury. This is supposed to be for capacity building and for aviation specifically.
Is capacity building happening?
From the look of it, not really, because even with this money coming in, I'm still hearing about loans and this and that, and this need to happen. We don't have money for that. And that's another story. And I don't get in trouble with
but we can't go further anyways because the show is done. I thank you so much. I wish we had more time this evening because I wanted to ask you about the fire trucks on airports but hopefully you can consider coming by again. Yes, thank you very much, Captain Randy Butler, of course, an aviation expert, pilot. You still fly? Yes. You still fly? Thank you so much. Thank you once again for stopping by this evening and trying to sort out that thing with the whole exams and all the other things. Thank you so much. I want to thank all of you for tuning in this evening. Of course, we are grateful to Senator Barry Griffin, who spent considerable time at the top of tonight's show talking about the Affordable Bahamas program to address the inflation here in this nation. Thanks to him as well. I want to thank all of you for tuning in this evening. On behalf of the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.